Yeah, Women's
Month.
History Month.
That's right. So happy first day of March, Brad Squad. Happy Women's History Month. It officially began in 1981 when Congress authorized and requested President Ronald Reagan to proclaim the week beginning March 7th, 1982 as Women's History Week. Throughout the next 5 years, Congress continued to pass joint resolutions designating a week in March as Women's History Week. Now, after being petitioned by the National Women's History Project, Congress designated the month of March 1987, the entire month, is Women's History Month. Between 88 and 94, Congress passed additional resolutions requesting and authorizing the president to proclaim March of every year as Women's History Month. Since 1995, presidents have issued a series of annual proclamations. Now, these are good proclamations, not like those proclamations from that pumpkin in the White House. We still can't get him out of the freaking news. I'm tired. You all right? Yesterday, it was all pumpkin, pumpkin, pumpkin.
Yeah, that's true.
And you know what I said today? We ain't going to talk about him. But, of course, still in my head. All right? He was making those terrible proclamations, but in a series of very nice proclamations, really what proclamation should be for. Every president since 1995 has designated the month of March as Women's History Month. Now, these proclamations celebrate the contributions women have made to the United States and recognize the specific achievements women have made over the course of American history in a variety of fields. Now, besides International Women's Day, March holds a few milestones for women's history. Title IX, which prohibits sex discrimination in all federally funded education programs, was passed by the Senate in March 1st, 1972, and it became a law later that year. The Equal Rights Amendment, which is a constitutional amendment which guarantees rights regardless of sex, beyond those assured by the 19th Amendment, passed the Senate also on March 22nd, 1972, although the Equal Rights Amendment, although passed, has never been ratified as part of an amendment to the Constitution. We're still waiting for that to happen. Now, earlier in the 20th century, two significant women's suffrage events took place in March. The first major suffragist parade took over Washington, D.C. on March 3rd, 1913, and the National Woman's Party, a political group dedicated to women's suffrage, suffrage meaning the right to vote, was officially formed in March of 1917. So March holds a lot of significance as it pertains to women, just as, you know, February held a lot of significance for Black History Month, Yo-Yo.
Very true.
Yes.
Very true.
Did you guys check out the Golden Globes last night? I know, Yo-Yo, I'm sure you watched.
You already know I'm always glued for award shows and all of that.
You're like Mr. Pop Culture. Let me tell you what you missed, all right? There were a lot of historic firsts for women last night. Chloe Zhao became the first ever female Asian director to win the Golden Globe for Best Director and only the second woman ever to win Best Director for her film Nomadland. A historic number of women were nominated for Best Director, including Chloe Zhao, Regina King for One Night in Miami, and Emerald Fennell for Promising Young Women. Now, Andra Day made history also, becoming the second Black woman ever to win the Best Actress in a Motion Picture Drama for her portrayal, which was also her acting debut of music legend Billie Holiday in The United States vs. Billie Holiday. Now, two women, Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, hosted the event and were quick to criticize the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. They're in charge of putting out the Golden Globe Awards because the Hollywood Foreign Press Association has experienced backlash because of a lack of racial diversity. There is not a single Black member in the institution, apparently. Now, a moving moment came when Chadwick Boseman posthumously won for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom in Best Actor in a Drama. His widow, Taylor Simone Ledward, gave a tearful speech on his behalf. She said he would thank God, he would thank his parents, he would thank his ancestors for their guidance and their sacrifice. But
yeah, that was deep.
Yeah,
that acceptance speech was deep.
Yeah, you felt that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was tuning in and out, so I missed that part.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw that one, and especially knowing what she did and what she went through while Chadwick was alive, to find out that she was at every single shoot that he was at. She was massaging his feet. She was walking him to his trailer. She basically was by his side, throughout all of that. And to be able to accept this, on behalf of him after he passed, I can't even explain how much I'm sure it was happiness, but also sadness. I think everybody felt that as well.
She looks stunning. I'm going to have to watch this back. Yeah, she looks stunning.
Now, the three things that were on everybody's mind on at least Twitterverse or Twitter universe was, and I saw two of the three.
Okay.
The one I didn't see, Jason Sudeikis. He was in a sweatshirt. He accepted his award in a sweatshirt and a hoodie. Okay. Al Pacino falling asleep in front of his Zoom computer. I saw that. Get Al Pacino. I mean, he's an elderly man, and he's tired. His eyes are focused on the screen. You're gonna fall asleep. That's what happens. It's hard.
Yeah.
And of course, all of the technical glitches. I'm going to tell you something. I don't wish technical glitches on anybody, but I was happy to see that we are not the only show that NBC, a huge, company. Network. Yeah. Okay. With all of those technical glitches, I got a text message from Julian, the TriCaster guy, last night. And Julian, the TriCaster guy, says to me, he goes, "We don't have anywhere near the technical glitches that the Golden Globes Awards had." And he goes, and they got a staff of God knows how many. He goes, "All you got is Julian, the TriCaster guy."
There you go.
And so I got a text message from him. He goes, after these Golden Globes, maybe I should get a raise.
Listen, I'm here for it.
Oh, yeah, I opened my mouth, right? I opened my mouth. Julian's going to start shaking his head. Yes, right?
I'm this whole squad up.
Yes. So.
Where's the ding?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Julian's pulling an Al Pacino and fell asleep. I thought maybe Julian was pulling an Al Pacino and fell asleep for a second.
I was about to say the same thing.
Because I saw this, because right at the top of the show, Daniel Kaluuya, audio completely cut out before he could accept his award for Best Supporting Actor in a Drama. You guys know nothing about the audio just cutting out on a live video cast.
No experience.
You have no experience about that whatsoever, right?
Please.
So when people say, "Hey, Bradshaw Live, what the heck's going on over there?" Like, what the heck? Like, what the heck? I can't hear Vanessa. I can't hear Yo-Yo. I'm just going to say, hello. Go watch the Golden Globes and then give us a call back, right?
There you
because we get it right at least almost 95% of the time, 98% of the time.
I'll give you that.
Right. Also, Catherine O'Hara won for Schitt's Creek, and her husband attempted a comedy bit in which he played audio of playoff music from his cell phone, which totally distracted from her speech. So that wasn't that particularly funny. Yeah. All right. So that was the Golden Globes. Meanwhile, in immigration news, lawyers working to reunite immigrant parents and children separated by the Trump administration reported Wednesday that they have found the parents of 105 children in the last month. Shocking that they found 105 parents the first month that Biden becomes president. When Trump was president, he claimed he was trying to find parents, couldn't find anybody. Shocking, right?
Right.
Now, the pro bono lawyers and advocates working on reunification said it had yet to find the parents of an additional 506 children, but it is down from 611 children who don't have parents. It's now down to 506 just as of January 14th in a 6-week period. The lawyers said the parents of about 322 of the 506 children believed to have been deported are making it more difficult to find them. The lawyers are not required by the judge to say how many of the parents and children have been reunited, but the Biden administration recently formed a task force placing the responsibility of finding and reuniting families separated by the Trump administration, primarily in the hands of the federal government. I think it should be in the hands of Jared and Ivanka Kushner, and they should go at their own expense and start traveling around Central America looking for these. Instead, absolutely. I saw them on a video clip taking a jog in Miami, all happy. They should be the first ones down there in Central America looking for these parents.
So they actually deported a lot of the parents?
Correct.
I didn't know that they actually deported the parents before giving them their children back.
Correct. They separated parents from children. And the reason they did this is because they were charging the parents with illegal entry into America. They couldn't charge the children with illegal entry. So the parents got separated from the children because the parents got sent to criminal jail while the children remained in federal immigration detention. That's how the separation happened. And then, in lieu of telling the parents you can go to criminal court and you're going to go to criminal jail for months and months and months and then get deported, or you can just agree to get deported now. Most agreed just to get deported rather than sit in jail and then get deported. And then they all got sent back to Central America while their children remained in federal detention here.
And the crazy thing is, even though it still doesn't justify or say that they should have done this, but there could have been an easy way to make sure they, put down on paper or in the system whose parents to what child and where that child is. There is an easy way, even though, like I said, they shouldn't have separated them in the first place. But if they really wanted to make sure they knew where the parents were and where the child was, they could have done that from the beginning. So these lawyers wouldn't have to even go out and do this type of work.
Well, first of all, they could care less. Absolutely, they didn't care at all, number one. And number two, you should never be separating the trauma these children have to now go through no fault of their own. Okay, they didn't choose it. They didn't choose this trauma. Okay? They didn't choose it. They didn't choose to come to America. They didn't choose to stay in jail. Okay? Now, you can say, well, it's the parents' fault. Well, okay, if you want to blame the parents, fine. But it's still not fair to do what you did to a child, no matter whose fault it is. All right? Two wrongs don't make a right. I mean, if you're going to make that argument, because it's a dumb argument. We got to be better as American society. And the reason they separated them was to try to force future people who were coming from Central America not to come, saying, wow, if you come with your kids, you're going to be separated and you're going to lose your child. So it was a punishment. But really the punishment ultimately was put on an innocent child.
Yeah.
Because those children, even when they get reunited with their family, they're never going to be the same. Traumatized.
Absolutely.
Now, one thing that backfired on Donald Trump is that today the Homeland Security Secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas, said that the Biden administration, when reuniting these migrant families separated by the Trump administration, they're going to allow all the separated families to enter the United States from their country of origin, even if they were previously ordered deported. Mayorkas called the separation of thousands of migrant families under the Trump administration the most powerful and heartbreaking example of the cruelty that preceded this administration. So in the end, Trump wanted these people who he deported not to ever come back to the United States, but in the end, although very sad what they had to go through, they have the last laugh because they get reunited with their children and get to be in America. On Wednesday, President Biden revoked a proclamation that Donald Trump made, and that blocked many green card applicants from entering the United States. Trump issued the ban last year, saying it was needed to protect U.S. workers. In essence, unless you were an immediate relative, you were barred from getting a green card at a U.S. embassy in another country. So unmarried, children of permanent residents, children under the age of 21 of permanent residents, spouses of permanent residents, unmarried children over the age of 21 of a U.S. citizen, married children of U.S. citizens, brothers and sisters of U.S. citizens, anybody sponsored in an employment-based case, all prevented from getting the green cards, 1 year of none of those applications being processed. That proclamation was set to end on March 31st. Biden lifted it approximately 4.5 to 5 weeks earlier than it was set to expire. It now sets up for 1 year of a backlogged group of people to start to get their immigrant visa appointments. The problem is this. The problem is we're still in COVID, okay? So the embassies are short-staffed, less people working there. They're working, in separated environments. And you have a situation where there's probably somewhere in the vicinity, I've never seen the statistic, but my guess would be somewhere in the vicinity of 350 to 400,000 green card applications that should have been processed for an interview that have not been processed. Now, all of the U.S. embassies have to set up interviews for approximately 350 to 400,000 people that should have already had their interviews, on top of all the interviews that they got to do moving forward, which means there's going to be a huge backlog sometime unless Biden adds a lot of staff to try to reduce this backlog. I don't know how they're going to do it. So even though family reunification is going to start, it's going to be a very long process before this whole backlog gets tackled. And finally, the first migrant facility for children has opened in Texas under the Biden administration. The facility is a former oil field worker camp, and the emergency facility is left over from the Trump administration. It was only open for a month in the summer of 2019 and is being reactivated to hold up to 700 children ages 13 to 17 years of age. Did you see that the House passed the COVID relief bill?
Oh, no.
Yes, $1,400 checks. It passed this weekend. Not one Republican voted for it. To $1,400 checks to every American who earns under $75,000. And then as you earn over $75,000, that $1,400 check gets reduced. And I think it gets phased out at $150,000, but don't quote me on that, but somewhere in that vicinity.
Oh, wow.
They also added a provision for a $15 minimum wage, but that's going to be stripped out. Biden wants this thing passed by another week. So we're waiting for the Senate to pass it. The Senate can pass it if all Democrats vote in favor of it. There could be some conservative Democrats that have a problem with it. We will see. The other thing is, there's three huge bills that Biden wants passed. The COVID relief, which is $1.9 trillion. It's bigger than the budgets of many countries. Okay. He wants an expansion of Obamacare that he's going to call Biden Care. And he wants immigration reform. Now, the immigration reform is going to heat up towards the end of March. And the reason it's going to heat up towards the end of March is because if the House can vote on bills before the end of March because of some rule in the House of Representatives, these bills don't have to be debated in a committee, which would expedite the immigration bill process. So get a full vote up by the House without having to go to these subcommittees and have testimony and discussion and blah, 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 and BS. Everybody knows what the deal is with immigration, okay? It has been debated till the cows come home for the last 40 years, okay? So everybody knows what the deal is. We don't need any more discussion. We don't need any more committee meetings. So the Democrats are trying to get something out from the House of Representatives by the end of March. Thing is this, the Democrats have the House of Representatives, the Senate, and they have the president, but they have a razor-thin majority in the House by five votes. They have 5 votes over the Republicans in the House of Representatives. They have 1 vote in the Senate. I mean, that's razor thin. And not every person, not every Democrat is on board with everything that is being said or being written about in Biden's bill and some of the other bills that are floating through. There's other bills that some Republicans may be in favor of. So it looks like what is going to happen, even though Biden gave this whole U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021, it looks like it's going to be split up into little different laws to pass incrementally. And things that can pass easily, most people believe the DREAM Act will pass easily. A majority of people believe that the amnesty for agricultural workers will pass. most people believe that most of the employment-based reforms that Biden put in the U.S. Citizenship Act will pass. The harder things will be getting rid of the provisional waiver and the 3 and 10 year bar, making immediate relatives of permanent residents, adding additional green cards to family-based petitions, and of course the big one, the general amnesty for anybody who was here on January 1st, 2021, and the general amnesty for anybody from a TPS country. That doesn't mean it won't pass. That means that for those other things to pass, Biden is going to have to flex muscle, where he wouldn't have to necessarily flex muscle, as much muscle for the dreamers and for the agricultural workers and for the employment-based, because the Republicans are in favor of employment-based immigration. And there are Republicans who are Trump supporters. Lindsey Graham in favor of the DREAM Act. And a lot of the agricultural workers come from states that are Republican. And they will get a lot of pressure from their constituents, the farmers, to help their workers. So I believe that you're going to get more of a consensus on amnesty for agricultural workers, DREAM Act, employment-based reform. You're going to see it's going to be harder for family-based reform, TPS amnesty, and the general amnesty. And the way that it looks like it's going to go down right now is, in the short term, they're going to pass the things that are more likely to have more support on both sides of the aisle and by Congress that will make it easier. And the harder ones, Biden is going to have to come down and put some muscle behind it. And when you put muscle behind it, what that means is you've got to make promises to other congressmen to get them to agree to what you want. I don't know what those promises are, okay? But there's going to have to be promises. You know, politics is the art of compromise. Now, Biden has made this a centerpiece of his administration. He says he wants this done. Now, he can use, you know, you can only make so many different compromises. You know, let's say, for example, I'm making this up, I don't know. You know, some congressman or senator says, well, you know, where I come from, I'm using my southern accent, where I come from, but I'm not good at the accents. Where I come from, you know, we need drilling. We need to open up some land. We need a pipe to go from here to here. I'll give you your TPS amnesty, you give me your pipe. But Biden may say, well, I want Obamacare. Well, I'm not going to give you Obamacare and TPS amnesty for a pipe. You've got to decide which one it's going to be. So, you know, hopefully Biden makes, at least from our perspective here at Bradshaw Live, Biden makes his, you know, because that's what it's going to be. Is it the priority immigration reform, or is he going to make some other priority that he's going to make his compromises with? We'll see. Right now, he's making immigration his priority publicly. We'll see if, after they pass the easy parts, what is he willing to trade to get the other parts passed? That's what it's going to come down to.
Right.
And then, because you can only have so much trading capital, you know, all right? Because if you can, you know, you put all your chips in on Obamacare, you don't have any more chips for immigration, or you put in all your chips for something else, you don't have the chips for something else.
Right. There's only so much compromise.
Correct. So we'll see. That's what it's going to come down to. What?
It's very strategic. Like, you have to really be, you know, strategic with that. I never even thought about that. Yeah.
Politics, they say it's the art of compromise. Now, Donald Trump didn't know any compromise. Okay, he's a good. I mean, I'm telling you the truth.
His highway or the highway.
Yeah. I mean, so when you say, is he a good politician? I would argue he's not, because he didn't really get anything done as president of the United States to further American interests. What he did, and he didn't compromise. He didn't use his political capital to, other than tax reform. If you say, well, he did this tax reform, okay, he cut people's taxes. My taxes didn't go down, but he cut some people's taxes. Real estate people and hedge fund guys, those taxes went down. If you lived in Republican states, those taxes went down. My taxes went up under Trump. But
wow.
But so if you say, okay, well, he did that, okay, fine. If you benefited from that tax cut, great, congratulations. But for the most part, he didn't do anything. What he did was he held on to power by scaring the hell out of everybody. But as a politician, as an authoritarian figure, he was fantastic.
Really?
One of the best authoritarian figures America's ever seen, if you're into authoritarian figures. Right? But as a politician, what did he do? Nothing. Right? What did he do to make anyone's life better here? Made it worse.
Absolutely.
Right. He didn't compromise on anything. He didn't try to make legislation to make America better, as much as he said. But right now, I like to talk a little animal. In Australia, a koala hopped behind the wheel of a car, causing a huge pileup. Only in Australia this would happen. Yeah, it caused a 6-car crash when the koala dashed across one of Australia's busiest freeways on Monday. A man whose car was hit from behind at around 7 a.m., causing a chain reaction, was the first to get out of his car to try and save the cuddly creature. Another driver, Nadia Tugwell, told ABC's Radio Adelaide she later saw the koala moving between vehicles on the freeway not far from the pileup. She said, then I saw a lady running after it with a blanket trying to catch it. The two women managed to corner the koala and bundled it up in a jacket before putting it in the back of Tugwell's car. While she waited for rescuers to arrive, the cuddly creature got comfortable in the car and even hopped behind the steering wheel, the photos show. So that's how the koala got behind the wheel of the car. I thought the koala was actually driving the car.
Me too.
I'm like, wait a second, is that koala driving the car? But koalas are cute. Meanwhile, scientists have successfully cloned a wild black-footed ferret that died more than 30 years ago. This is Frankenstein ferret. Okay? This ferret died, but now has been cloned. The young clone, it's not a Frankenstein. It's just a clone.
Oh, it's a clone.
It's a clone. This is more like a Terminator ferret. Right. This is not a Frankenstein ferret. This is a Terminator ferret. Right. They cloned him.
Yeah, that would be kind of crazy.
Yeah, like imagine like the dead ferret goes back and is like, like Frankenstein. So the young clone, born December 10th, 2020, and named Elizabeth Ann, is the first ever native endangered species to be cloned. That's why they did it, because it's an endangered species. So to bring back the species. Now, once thought to be extinct, black-footed ferrets are one of North America's rarest land animals, clinging to existence through captive breeding and reintroduction programs. There's only about 400 left in the world.
Wow.
A woman was in an outhouse in a remote area of Alaska when a bear came barreling into the outhouse while she was on the toilet and bit her on the butt. Yep.
What?
Yep. A woman who used, I don't know if this is Fuzzy Monday. This is Hump Day Wednesday. This could also be Wacky World News Thursday. But a woman who used the toilet all in one. A woman who used the toilet in an outhouse in remote Alaska got quite the surprise after a bear nipped her in the butt. Shannon Stevens said she, her brother, and his girlfriend rode snowmobiles to his yurt, which I guess is a hut, about 20 miles northwest of Haines, Alaska, when Shannon needed to use the outhouse. Shannon said, I got out there and sat down on the toilet, and immediately something bit my butt. I jumped up. I screamed when it happened. They first thought she'd been bitten by a small animal or a squirrel, but when he opened up the toilet seat, there was a bear staring right at her. You know what? If I'm hanging out in the outhouse of a toilet anywhere, and somebody opens up the toilet and sits on it and starts to go to the bear, I'm going to bite that butt too. I mean, anybody's going to bite, And
right.
And by the way, you got to look when you're in an outhouse, what's down there before you sit down, right? Would you?
So was the bear was just in the outhouse?
The bear was in the toilet of the outhouse, hanging out.
Ew.
Yeah. This bear's like, lady, you got to be kidding me. You're going to do that on me now?
Could you imagine?
That's what happened.
Wow.
You're like, you know that bear
Talk
looking
about
up?
right place, right time.
That bear looking up, lady. You better not be doing what I think you're about to be doing. I'm gonna bite you.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, can't be mad at the bear.
No, I can't be mad at the bear either. The woman ran out of the house. She said she was bleeding, but it wasn't super bad. The sister and brother discovered bear tracks surrounding the property the next morning. No sign of the bear. I can't blame the bear. The bear's like, I'm not coming back to this place. It's crazy.
Right.
People are going to the bathroom on my head. All right.
How the hell did you just get there and like get out?
I don't know. Thanks for watching. For more Brad Show Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.